All right. Good evening. It's Tuesday night. That means I'm having a catch tonight. My special guest is Jacob Moses. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you, Joey, for having me. I've been waiting for this all week, man. It's going. I'm excited.
I've been looking forward to this for a while. Actually, Jacob and I have known each other for about a year.
Mhm.
I think we met in the baseball life group,
Yes.
and then we started to get really talking when I think it was you and Jake Hibbert were like, we do a wrestling life group too.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, now it's getting serious. And so I'm excited. Jacob's a member of the Utopian Baseball Universe. He's a man of many hats. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about tonight, if you were to Google this man's name, you're going to find a lot of podcasts that he's either contributed to or he's working on right now.
Mhm.
So, Jacob, tell us what you got going on these days in the podcasting world and where we can find all this great content.
Okay, I do one with my best friend Leon Tompkins. We have the Step Back podcast and Step Back. Kind of like James Harden, Luca. They do their step back moves. It's revolved around basketball. I mean, we have been doing it since pretty much COVID. That's what we bought it into. COVID happened. Nothing was going on. You know what? Let's try this. So we did a podcast for just a pilot for Henry and Vince. They're like the moderators of Baseball Life.
Sure.
So we said, hey, nobody's doing basketball. Let's try this out. And we're almost 80 episodes into it, and we're going strong. You can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, iHeart. I know it's another one, but Leon's better at me than doing all of them. But those are the main ones we're usually on. Just definitely check us out. We have fun. We're not too uptight about it. We're pretty loose. It's just like basically a regular conversation, like when we were kids. We just argue about everything, but it's just on camera, so we make it fun.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and we'll make sure to throw a link up later tonight. So I'm guessing you guys, just by the math, if you've done 80 episodes, we're about, I would say, 80 to 100 weeks into COVID. So yeah, you
Yeah.
guys must have got started right around
Hmm.
the time that started.
Oh man, it's been quite a ride. But like I said, COVID it hit us with a lot of things, but a diamond came out of that in our podcast, so I like it. But I like this. I'll have to give you props for the Utopian Universe. It's awesome what you do. Going back, I'm a big like history guy, so I love hearing about it. I can't keep everything in my head like I used to. I used to be the guy. Oh, what college did he go to in '92? I'll be able to tell you now. It's not happening anymore. But I like how you can actually do streams of old games, and you do your season. And what is the game called? Oh my god, drawing a blank. So you pick your own teams. You pretty much go throughout each year, changing your teams. You make your trades. You draft your players.
Talk about rotisserie or fantasy.
No, it's not fantasy. It's like Oh my god, I can't think of the game right now. Ugh, I
You're talking
cannot
about
think of
like
it.
for RBI, the Xbox.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, like that is pretty cool what you do. But no, this definitely I gotta jump in here more though. I gotta.
Well, you're like I would love to have you on like as a regular like within the channel. We've got so much opportunity going forward.
Hmm.
One of my goals actually for the third season is to see less of me on these airwaves. Like, I'm just popping up every. There was a guy. He's not in the group anymore, so I
Hmm.
won't even use his name. He's a good guy.
Hmm.
I don't know him that well. I just know of him.
Hmm.
He joined the group about 9 months ago, and like 6 days in, he's like, "Man, you post too much." And I'm like, if it's not for you, uh,
Huh.
I'm not posting every 10 minutes. I usually do 3 or 4 a day.
Hmm.
But he's like, yeah, I don't know I don't know if this is right for me. And I said, well, you know what? Anyone who gets an invite, and if
Hmm.
you're watching this now, you've been invited. You have 28 days to sample the channel, and then, if
Hmm.
it's not for you, that's fine. But once March 25th hits, that's opening day for the universe. You're going to be seeing a little bit more of me. Hopefully, you'll see more of Jacob in the future as we
Never
get
know.
going here. By the
Hmm.
way, Jacob is a huge Mets fan. We're going to get to that here shortly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we're representing tonight. I got this was a Father's Day gift, 2014, my Mets hoodie.
I like it.
This cap is like a week old. This is one of the rustics that you get on lids.com. I love
Yep.
these rustics.
Hmm.
Got an old school look. But so let's talk, obviously, baseball group. Let's talk a little bit of baseball here. What year did you become a fan, and were you immediately a Mets fan from the beginning?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My grandparents, my grandmother, God rest her soul, my grandfather's still around, 91 still kicking, but I would say 91, 92. I would say I'm 35 now, so but 91, 92. My grandfather, when I actually liked going fishing when I was younger, he would throw in the Mets, that jingle comes on, let's go Mets. FA and then I mean that was just classic to me. And then even though they sucked, my grandfather would tell me about certain things because as he grew up, he was basically before the Mets. He's a Brooklyn Dodgers guy. He used to go to the games. It was pretty awesome to hear it. But he needed a team when they left. He said I wasn't rooting for the Dodgers. It wasn't happening. And basically going back into it, got the Mets, got this National League team back, and he said he's been a fan ever since. But I heard about the '86 team, Strawberry, Gooden, all those guys, and he would tell me how electric the city was when they actually won. And that's ever since then, man. I've been hooked on the Mets. Win, lose, a lot of losing, but we're still here, hoping for that one time. We all can celebrate. Like I always tell everybody else, we get a championship. It's going to be a big celebration, man.
Well, the way I became a fan is almost in a way similar to the way your grandfather became a fan because his team left and he had to choose a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm estimating here now, 7 years old, 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We got cable. And the cable guy literally pulled out the guide and he highlighted all the games and it was all, the super stations, Mets, Cubs, and Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my family, I should say, their heart was broken twice. They were from Brooklyn. So they lost the Dodgers in 57. I think it was 57. And then my grandfather opened an art studio north of Milwaukee in the early 60s. And I think the Braves left in 65. Oh, so the Dodgers left Brooklyn, broke his heart. Braves left Milwaukee, broke his heart. And then, 18, 20 years later, little 9-year-old me learning the game. All I knew about baseball was the Brewers were in the series in 82. I didn't watch a second of it because I was 6. I didn't care. I watched the 83 series between the Phillies and Orioles on a black and white TV, like a 10-inch. And then the next summer we got the cable, and my grandma was very specific. I still remember this. She was like, you will not root for that Braves team that broke our heart. And I didn't even know this, until years later that the Packers were very close to moving to Atlanta. Coca-Cola wanted to move the Green Bay Packers to Atlanta before the Falcons were awarded a team.
Oh, wow.
Because I guess the economy was struggling here. And the city of Milwaukee stepped in and said, hey, we'll give you County Stadium. They just lost the Braves. So they didn't really have a tenant. And they I think they hosted 20 games a year for the White Sox. The White Sox almost moved to Milwaukee. But the Milwaukee County Stadium, where the Brewers used to play, actually housed 3 home games a year for the Packers for almost 30 years. So, yeah, history, it could have been a lot different had not Milwaukee stepped up there. But that's kind of how I became a Mets fan, is that I understood that, if you look at this logo, it's the old New York Giants logo, but it's the Brooklyn colors. So they took the Dodger colors and they took the New York Giants logo, and that's how they created the Mets. And it just made sense. But Jacob's right. If anyone's watching now, a lot of losing.
Too much, man.
and you became a fan at probably the height of all that losing. That was we're talking like the Anthony Young years now.
Oh yeah.
He was a decent pitcher, and then he just had bad luck. I think he lost 27 straight at one point. But now, all right. So, again, let's see if the math does me well here. You said you're 35, so you were born in 86, 87.
86.
86. Now, you probably then just missed everything that was happening.
Yep.
Have you ever gone back and watched all the old stuff?
I tried to. Which I planned. It was during COVID. I wanted to do stuff like that. I will, because I want to get more, into it with the history. Like I said, I know the history, but I want to watch the games, just to get the feel of it and how things happen, so I can complain about it some more. But yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I do remember. It's like a few guys I used to like, honestly, like the Bernard Gilkeys of the world. Lance Johnson because he was really fast. and I can run really fast. I was like, hey, I can be like Lance Johnson, but it was pretty rough. Like my grandfather, I didn't hear a lot of good things, a lot of cursing. I remember that, but it's been a rough time. But honestly, I look back at it, I wouldn't change a thing, man. Just being a Met fan, it's different. It's different. Everything about it. I honestly, everybody says, "Oh, their fan base is so good," but listen, I think we're the most dedicated fan base. Even if we were winning, losing, we still show up. Even in the baseball groups. I'll probably take the most, and we have like chats and stuff, and I take the most because I'm a Met fan. I didn't see the winning and all that, but just like in 2015, I was still calm about it. Jacob, are you excited? I'm like, listen, I mean, yeah, did a lot of losing, and then obviously in 15, I think that I will say that was the one time I almost shed a tear. I just my daughter was just born, and in September actually, and I just remember rocking it in the last out. I'm just sitting there like, listen, are we actually going to see a championship? Is it going to be our time to celebrate? We've seen the Cubs, we've seen the Red Sox, we've seen so many curses, and just like I didn't see one. But it's been a rough ride, but I think good days are coming, better days are coming.
I think so too. I actually remember the day after the 2015 World Series ended. My kids, I think that series ended on a weeknight, if I remember correctly. My kids were in bed the next morning getting ready for school. One of the youngest said, "Did they win?" And deja vu hit me because in 1982, when the Brewers lost the World Series, I was 7. And I wasn't following it that closely, but I knew my mom was invested in it. And I saw the paper, and it showed Gorman Thomas, who struck out to end the World Series. And I said, "Oh, did they lose?" And she just kind of paused and says, "Yeah, but I'm so proud of them. They did so great." And they ended up having a big parade. Kind of had the same moment with my kids. I said, "Yeah, they lost," and you can see my daughter wanting to get a little bit choked up. And I said, "Hey, but let me remind you what kind of a summer did we have as a family following this team?" And I actually did something, and I'm really glad I did this because we can go back and kind of share it as they get older. But when they beat the Reds in the regular season, it was a late September game. They won like 10-2. They didn't know it at the time, but I was recording our reactions on this computer.
Oh wow!
So, because I wanted it to be genuine, I didn't want them to like be posing and this is before TikTok and all that, but I didn't want it to be, like staged. And I recorded that, and then I did the same thing when they beat the Dodgers and when they beat the Cubs. And I would have done the same thing had they beat the Royals, but what a summer! I mean, even though like the '69 team, that was before I was born, and the '86 team and the '88 team and 2000, I don't think I've had more fun following a Mets team than I did in 15 because I was sharing it with 6 people at the time. And that's right around the time I started kind of utilizing Facebook, groups and stuff like that. And it's just great when you're part of a community. And you and I know this, I think you and I are in the same kind of baseball circles on Facebook. Like when it's good, it's so good. Like, just to follow, and you got all these fans from like, even in the group we're in with the Baseball Life and Utopian, we have Mets fans in tons of states. It's not just East Coast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm in Milwaukee, and I don't really know too many Mets fans around here, but it's kind of nice when you can find people with that same passion for the team. And I actually happen to be a Browns fan too, and I think one of the things I'm most proud of being a Mets fan and a Browns fan is that the fan bases are so passionate. And I won't name them, specifically, but there are some fan bases where it's like a little bit obnoxious. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
Don't make me say them.
I think we know. We're right here. We know.
I'm not going to say them. We don't need to say them.
Absolutely.
But, so, what are some of your your favorite memories growing up? Like, obviously, you said your grandfather taught you this game, but like, give me some of the early ones that you always kind of draw back on.
Mets memories?
Mets or baseball in general?
Baseball in general. I had one of my friend that I do the podcast with. We used to play baseball all the time. Of course, being like the only two black, the black kids that like we played basketball, but we took more liking to baseball. Both our favorite players. He was a Vladimir Guerrero guy. I was a Griffey guy. But seeing somebody like us do the things he did, the backwards hat, being that good, everything he did, 5'2" player. It was just I gravitated towards that. Obviously some of the games I was able to catch him, of course, watching the Mets games, but it was awesome to see, and it really drove me to baseball because I'm like, hey, and at a young age, I knew it was the hardest sport to play, and I always like challenges, hardest sport to play, and it was fun, man. It's nothing like barreling up a ball and you just rock one. You're just like, wow. We used to have home run derbies. It would just be us two. We lose so many balls. Couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford a bat. They're really expensive. I'm finding that out now.
Yeah.
But we would go to the corner store, and we just, hey, can we hold your bat? We go right out to the yard. We pop one off the people's chimneys, off the windows. We didn't break anything. But it's just fun times, man. And then with the Mets, my best memories, I used to work for them. I started in, I want to say 2004. Worked in the promotions division, as you wanted to call it. It's probably different now. But I've seen David Wright come up, Jose Reyes come up, the good players. And I've seen Kaz Matsui. It's been, I remember a promotional day when we were giving out Kaz Matsui's, it was a poster, and he got benched that day, and everybody's coming in like, wait, he's not even playing today. What's the deal? What's going on? But that was fun. Obviously, 99 was awesome.
Yeah.
Man, it was fun. 2000 was even crazier, even though we all know the ending of that one. Then it got kind of rough. The Art Howe years. Oh, good. The 2004, and then 2004 started changing. Guys wanted to come in a little bit more than 2005. Beltran comes, and Pedro comes, and then the vibe changed. Then we have this lineup with LaDuca, Delgado. That I think that was one of the biggest, if not the biggest move. Yep. Guys like Jose Valentin, Jose Reyes, David Wright, budding superstar. Cliff Floyd. Man, it's Xavier Nady. That was the guy. X was the man. I don't care what anybody says. Then the pitching, it was there. It was magical. Actually, you can go on YouTube, and the final out, I actually caught myself. We were on the field level. You can see me. I'm looking. No facial hair grown at all. Me and my grandfather just there. Everybody getting excited. Just the high five and the hugs because just waited so long to get back to the playoffs. Even that win the division. That was a great moment. Man, it's 2007, 2008. We're going to skip those years because I think I still hear about that collapse to this day. But 2015, it definitely heightened it when you're just like, okay, I think it's our time to do it. But when Cespedes, and I said it, when he missed that ball in that first play, I said, oh, no, we're in trouble. Because the Royals, they just were scrappy, and you just knew they just weren't going to stop it till they won. So, but other than that, man, like I said, I had some good memories. It's not too many, but, it's good enough for me to look back and go, hey, that was a good time. But like I said, being a Met fan is hard, but it's rewarding when good things actually do happen.
Well, I do want to touch upon two of those harder memories because I don't relive them. Mm-hmm. I've never watched them over, but in 2006, and I still refer to this as the Endy Chavez game because that's had we won, that's what it would have been known as in history.
Oh yeah.
Now this is back again, this is 17 years ago now, actually, right? Or what's the math? 2006, 15, 16. 16 years.
16 years.
I didn't even have a cell phone at this point.
Oh man.
And when Chavez caught the ball, my phone rang and I knew because everyone was over. My daughter was a year old at the time. My wife was there. My mom was there. They knew it was an important game. Mm-hmm. Phone rings, and everyone in the room said, Moser, that was my best friend at the time. They knew he was calling, and I picked it up. I didn't even check, and I'm like, that's the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life. He's like, you guys are doing it. And when who hit the homer? Was it Roland?
Yachty, I believe.
Yachty.
Because he hit it off of Aaron Howman.
Roland hit the one that
that he caught, yeah. Yeah,
Yachty homered.
Mm-hmm. Aaron Howman.
Everyone was like, and I was like, you know what? I lived through 86. Mm-hmm. It's not over. And when they got the first two guys on, I was so sure that they were going to come back. That when Beltran looked at strike three, I simply dropped my head. I had a ball in my, like I had a glove on. I had the ball in the glove. The ball hit the floor. My head dropped. My mom kissed me on the forehead. My wife kind of rubbed my shoulder, and I just sat there for like an hour. I could not, because I mean, we had like a 15 game lead in May or something.
Oh my goodness, we were rolling, man.
I was printing World Series tickets. I was like mapping out tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have tattoos, but I was like, where should I put it? Like here.
It was so good, man, because the thing about it was the 20-year anniversary of us winning the 86 World Series. The team, the time. They had just the slogan, everything. The team, the time, the drink. The team, the time, everything. It was so centered around. We had the shirts that we were giving out, the 86.
Remember the song?
Oh,
there was a song it's still on iTunes, I think. It was I forget the name of the artist.
I know what you're talking about because the guy actually got death threats. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I remember. Oh man, but it was.
I used to sing that song at work. They'd be like, "Shut up."
It was great though. But the funny thing about it, I remember coming back to the office the one day and everybody's was just still happy, still throwing champagne around. I came home smelling like, Jacob, you drinking? No, they threw champagne on me. Of course, I was what? Let's see, what year was it? So it was 2006. I was about 19 or something like that. And it was awesome, man. Just seeing the joy in the player's face. I remember actually being there for the Mets and the Dodgers. And I met Derek Lowe. He's one of my favorite pitchers of all time. So we're joking around. He's like, yeah, we're going to win today. I was like, no, Derek Lowe, you going down. There's no getting low here. You're going to get low. Oh, man, it was so fun. I mean, give me a hug, slapping fives. Like, yeah, it's going to be a battle. And then we were actually right behind home plate, like in the tunnel. When LaDuca made the double tag, it was ridiculous. We were like, oh, let's go. It was exciting. It was definitely a good time. Especially working there. I mean, my wife hated it because we were like a year into our relationship, and I went to every Mets home game. She hated it. She could not stand it. To this day, I still have to hear it, but yeah, it was worth it. It's worth it now since we're still together, but it was pretty great.
Now the other one that again I haven't rewatched it since it happened, but 2008, the last year at Shea Stadium, I actually now. A lot of people don't realize this. So I actually wrote a book about that season called Two Loves. I released it in March of 2009, but it wasn't supposed to be a book at all. It was supposed to be a time capsule for my daughter and I.
Okay.
And I would just contribute to daily, and then we were going to open it 20 years later. And a friend of mine had a son that was an English major, and he said, he's got to do some editing for school. Would you mind submitting what you're working on? And I said, it's just a little diary type thing. Well, he sends it back, and he's like, man, this is a book. I said, really? You think people want to? I mean, I'm just talking about like what my daughter and I did during the game and where we ate and stuff like that. She goes, no, it's the personal connection. People like this anyway. One of the things that I wanted to figure out, I suppose, because I guess I didn't really know for sure up until the end of that season. Now I live in Milwaukee, so I'm a Brewers fan. I've been going to Brewers games since 1983. My first favorites were like Gorman Thomas and Robin Yount and guys like that. I became a Mets fan probably 15 months later out of cable. It was almost like an accident. But what I was doing that summer, this is the summer of 2008, was I was documenting the last season at Shea Stadium, and essentially the first season that my daughter was going to games. Now she had gone to, probably a game a year as a baby, 2005 she was born. So we took her in April or she was born in 2005. So we took her in April of 2006. We took her once in 2007. But 2008 was when she was starting to become aware. So I wanted to document that for her. But the other thing I was trying to figure out was which of these teams is like my team, And I'll tell you what happened, which cemented it. It was the last day of the year. I believe they were in a virtual tie. The Brewers and the Mets were in a virtual tie for the wild card. And had they both won, game 163 would have been at Shea Stadium. I mean, this is like perfect for my book, right? Because it's my two teams, right? Well, the Brewers were 1-1 in the eighth. Ryan Braun hits a homer to make it 3-1 against the Cubs. They're going crazy. Everyone in my house is going crazy because there's no divided loyalty there. They're Brewers fans. Brewers win. In Miller Park, and then on, I guess, Fox, whatever channel they were, they said, okay, we're gonna follow this Mets game because it looks like they're down 1 or whatever it was. Ironically, a former Brewer, Wes Helms, hits a home to the Marlins to take the lead. And then again, in the ninth, I forget what the specifics were, but I think we had a guy on. Winning run was at the plate. You're going to have to remind me who it was. I think it was Brian Schneider, right?
Ooh, yes. Did he strike? Did he fly on a strike? I can't remember.
He flew out.
Okay.
Like deep right or deep center. But what happened was when he caught the ball, and I realized that it was over for the Mets. Not just the season, but that was the last play ever at Chase Stadium.
Yep.
Everybody in my household was going crazy because they were happy the Brewers had clinched a play. Here's what I did. This is exactly what I did.
Oh, same thing.
I was like, what? And I realized, like, right there, like, guys, it's obvious that I'm a Mets fan. Like, the Brewer, like, the way I've always described it was I met the Mets at an impressionable age, fell in love with them, married them, and I'm still with them, right?
There you go.
The Brewers are kind of like the kids we had. Like, it doesn't matter if they win or lose. You take them to Culver's afterwards. You tousle their hair. You're just happy for them. They're family. But it's not the same type of, like, with the Mets, is like, bite your lower lip. Like, it's in your loins. It's just like, oh. So that's the difference. Now, like, when I watch a Mets game now, if they win, it's like, yes. If they lose, it's like, shit. The Brewers, it's almost the same reaction. If they win, it's just like, hey, the Brewers won. If they lost, it's like, oh, the Brewers lost. We'll get them again. So it's not the same. It's I can't. It's the same with football for me too. Packers and Browns.
We have to get off until 8 o'clock. Yes. Like, we have to get off.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. There's a good chance my door is going to knock at any moment now. And if it is, I'm just going to say you're going to have to wait for me to open your pickles or whatever I'm needed for.
Thank you. Love you. All right, go. All right. I got to finish up. Go to bed, please.
By the way, if you are scoring at home, that is the first documented goodnight kiss in the history of
Yeah, I'm trying to get to like 8 o'clock. Daddy's on a podcast now. You got to make sure you're off at 8 o'clock, and then there you go. And they listen, so I'm happy. But thank you.
Now, I couldn't help but notice, obviously, we're both big wrestling fans. Rocking the Ric Flair hoodie.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Now, in the Baseball Life group, I know you've been contributing a lot to my Mount Rushmores.
Yes.
People, I don't think, are understanding the Mount Rushmores because I might need your help in explaining to the group at some point. Maybe they'll listen to you because you're a long tenured guy and I'm kind of newer. I'm very specific in the post that I'm looking for people's favorites. We all know that Ty Cobb was great and Babe Ruth was great. Look, we're all going to have the same answers if we're just interpreting who the great ones were. I want to know what people's favorites are. And every day, and Tim St. Clair, who I'm sure he's watching right now, every day he's like, how many times do you have to remind people that we're talking favorites here? Because like I think the team a couple days ago was the Nationals, and they're like,
oh, okay. I gotta do
Zimmerman, and I'm like, he's great. He's not one of my favorites. He's good. He's, that's I'm looking for favorites here. So the question I have is, you got the Ric Flair hoodie. We all love Ric Flair. Flair is probably one of those guys who's probably on both lists. He's probably on everyone's list of the top 4 ever, and he's probably on many people's lists for favorites ever. Where do you rank? Like who are your 4 favorite wrestlers ever? Just favorites
ever. First goes the Hitman. It's definitely Bret Hart.
And one.
Yep, he got me up number one because he
Okay.
was like the main guy that I really got into wrestling because he was I love technical wrestlers, you know, break you down, plus his sharpshooter. Come on, can't go wrong with that. So definitely got to go Bret. I'll go Shawn Michaels as the flashy one.
Yeah.
And this one it gets kind of sticky. I'm like, it's so many guys. I'm just like, can I go Triple H? Triple H. I was a big Triple H guy, and then I was a big Cena guy, like from the beginning, because it was pretty. I love the gimmick and everything, but it's hard. It's really hard. But I'll go Bret, HBK, Triple H, and I'll go Cena.
Okay.
My four
favorites. Now, who would you say if someone were to, like, someone's new to this earth and they're like, oh, wrestling. Mm-hmm. Tell me about you. School me on the history of wrestling. Who are the four best in your opinion?
Best?
Yeah.
Ooh. History-wise?
And take into consideration many things. Obviously, you got in-ring skill.
Mm-hmm.
You got, mic work is very important, obviously, in today's age as well.
Absolutely.
Can they work as a heel? Can they work as a face? I think there's a lot. Like Ric Flair has always said, he's gone on record and saying, yeah, Steamboat was great, but he never worked as a heel.
Yeah.
Tito Santana was a great technician, never worked as a heel. Mm-hmm. So I think to be considered great, I think you have to be great in both roles.
Exactly.
So who would you say are your four, like, would you say the four greatest ever?
That there is what he's done. Flair, because he worked as both pretty.
We may have lost Jacob here for a second. We'll hang tight, though. Just like any good catch. I'm not going to put my glove down. I do have to improve the lighting, though. I still feel like I'm in like a motel. Not a hotel, but like a motel. So as we wait for Jacob to come back here, just a reminder, at 8 o'clock tonight, 55 minutes from now, is episode 2 of The Wheel Play with Richie Lund. We were going to do weekly, but he's like, I got to do part 2 tonight. So we're going to do the AL Central tonight. And that's coming your way at 8 o'clock. See if we get a Jacob Moses pop up on one of these, and then I'll lose the other. It's the beauty of live television, ladies and gentlemen. Get to some of your comments here. Once you guys gave up on Duda, you started improving. I mean, I like Duda, but I think I agree. As a Cubs fan, I request Braun's name is no longer used. You know what? Yeah, I can agree with that. Sting, we got a Sting fan. I tell you what, while we wait for Jacob, I've got, and this is actually why I have him. I got 3 basketballs here. Let's see if I make some shots. All right, 0 for 1. Off to a bad start. 0 for 2. All right. I was a good coach. The 1 year I played basketball in high school, I scored 12 points all year. I scored 6 points during the season, and then my last game, I scored 6 points. So I doubled my output. Greg was at that game. Greg, if you're watching, you were at that game. I went 2 for 3 from the floor and 2 for 3 from the line. Had 2 rebounds as well. That was my shining moment as a player. There we go. Can you hear me, Jacob?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so we lost you there for a couple minutes.
That was weird. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you great.
Okay, that was weird.
All right, so we were talking about all time, like who you think is the greatest wrestlers of all time, and then I think that's when we lost you there.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Flair. Like you said, got to be able to heal and do both. HBK is definitely there. I mean, he did both really well. Triple H, I can't. He was better as a heel face. He was just he's more. I can't really put him up there. So I'm gonna go HBK, Flair. I'm gonna go Austin. The dude was just really good. Both of them, he was good, and I'm gonna go with The Rock. Those are the best.
Can't argue with those. I'll share with you mine, and then I have a question for something I read earlier today. I want to get your reaction to this.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a whole bunch of wrestling to get to. We could, and again, like with many great guests, we could go 6, 7, 10, 12 hours. But my 4 favorite, my number 1's Macho Savage.
Okay.
Because I got into wrestling right around the time you were born, 86. There was no one more intense. Like, he just captivated. Like, when he was on my TV screen, I couldn't multitask. Like, Grandma could have been talking to me about church and be like, Grandma, he's facing this steamboat at the garden. I gotta find out what's going on here. Savage is 1. Roddy Piper in his prime 2.
He was money, yeah.
When he came back, like after he did a couple movies and he came back, he was kind of like just the goofy face, you know, like doing 6 Men with the Bushwhackers and stuff like that. Then I kind of lost interest. But in his prime, as a heel, and then even initially in his first babyface run against like Adonis and all that, better. Then I got to go Austin and Flair. Those are my favorites.
Okay.
As far as who I think the greatest are, you got to take into consideration the in-ring storytelling, on the mic, can they draw? And for those reasons, I know it seems weird because he's still going right now, but how can you not consider Brock Lesnar in the picture right now? Is there anyone more just captivating? Like when you hear the music, when he comes out, it's like it just has this main event feel. And it's weird to think that his first run in WWE only lasted 2 years. And he went away, and then he goes away for like 8 years, and then he's actually been back longer than he was gone.
Oh, yeah.
But even now, I think he's in his early 40s. He's still such a draw, and he's such a great just storyteller in the ring. His matches are, you know, incredible. Like were you watching WrestleMania 30 live when he beat Taker?
Yes, that was.
That guy's reaction, where he's just like
nobody could believe it. Everybody in the crowd was like, "What did this?"
I still can't believe it.
Nah, that's one of those things. That's one of the events that you will never, until the day you just die, you're gonna remember that. Going, what the hell were they thinking? But that was Taker's request. You know, like if it was going to be the guy, he asked him, "Hey, do you want to do it?" I believe he asked him at a UFC event after Brock lost to, I think he dropped the belt.
I saw that.
And then he was like, "Hey, do you want to do it?"
You walked by him,
yeah. He was like,
"Do you want to?" So I'm putting Lesnar on there. I know it might be premature, but as far as just like, you know, when we're talking about this 100 years from now, like memorable, just captivating, Lesnar's 1. I'm putting Rock on there. I'm not saying he's number 2, but he's in my top 4 because of the draw. Nobody better on the mic ever.
I'll give him that.
The matches were, you know, decent, but they were memorable. They were the storytelling was incredible.
Oh, absolutely.
Flair, and then I agree. You got to put HBK on there. Because he just took the in-ring piece of it to a whole nother level.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just incredible. Like, my only thing with Hart, and I don't have an argument with it, but I always thought he was not very good on the mic. And, like, if you break down his matches just hold by hold, you know, like, yeah, he was a great technical wrestler, but it was a lot of, like, you know, kick to the head, take the bump off the turnbuckle. It seemed like his matches were kind of predictable. But all respect. I mean, his program with Michaels is one of the top 4 ever. Flair's program with Rhodes was incredible. But those are my 4.
Yeah, I would definitely put like Macho Man. Like I caught Macho Man, I want to say at the end of his WWF run when he got hurt. So, and then Roddy Piper, I didn't really know like those guys. And then I look back, he was great. But some of the stuff he said back then, you weren't saying now. He would have
Yeah.
been canceled. It would have been it. He did the blackface. I'm like, oh my God. And
Yeah.
I'll say it was gold. Like I have a really good sense of humor, and you got to be able to sell. You got to be able to sell it. You got to be able to make it believable. And Piper did that. He made it believe that he was a grade A asshole, and that's what you love. Like even one of my favorite of all time, Edge. Like I liked him in the beginning. It was something about him in the Brood. You see him and how he worked it. Like this kid is going to be good. And just when he came back, and I will say it was only a few moments that I will say I marked out. That was one of them when he came back at the Rumble. I'm just
Yes, I did.
what? So you think you're gonna be? Oh, no! And he came out and going, wow, this is crazy.
So, what is your take on today's wrestling? Now, one thing I like about it is that you actually, for the first time in almost 20 years, you have competition now for WWE and Vince. You got AEW, you got Impact is kind of making a splash. Even, the NWA's made a recovery lately, and they're doing something. But what do you like about today's product, and what kind of pisses you off?
Me growing up in the Attitude Era, it's not edgy enough.
Yeah,
I will still say that it's too predictable now. That's the thing. I'll get that out the way. I hate it because it's too predictable. You know what's going to happen. Granted, social media has kind of ruined that now. Kayfabe is pretty much gone.
Yeah.
What I like about it, I will say it's a lot faster. You got the cruiserweights and stuff. They're able to do things that just guys like Ricochet, guys like Darby Allin, guys like Sammy Guevara. It's how they move. Just like the move he did when he basically, I don't know if you saw that spot with him and Cody, where he went from the rope, he jumped on the ladder, and then jumped off and gave him like a cutter. It was pretty sick. But stuff like that, it's a lot quicker. The storylines are better, I will say that. For the most, well, no, let me back up. Let me think about it. No, storyline's better back then. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I just thought about 5 or 6 instances. Yeah. I would say it's a lot faster. And then the people can do more. The wrestlers can really do more in the ring. And it makes it fun to watch, but there's nothing like it back then, man. You go back to WrestleMania 1, it's just classic old school. I like that kind of stuff. Just up to, it really started changing around WrestleMania 23-ish. Yep, 23-ish. Yep. Just about that. It started changing. Just like, they did the whole PG thing. Come on.
Well, and you know what? And I hate to say it, but I think what changed it was Benoit.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because, well, to think back, so the week before that happened, they had a storyline. And the storyline was so convincing that people were calling into radio stations asking if it was real. Do you remember when Vince apparently died?
Mm-hmm.
They actually ended Raw with a limousine exploding.
Yes.
And then you're like, what the hell? And then if you go to the website, anything you click on, it said Mr. McMahon presumed dead. And I'm like, holy shit.
No, come on, Vince.
What? And then the next morning on AM, on sports radio, they're like, so Vince McMahon is apparently dead. And then the night of the quote Benoit tribute show, where they basically gave him a tribute for the first 2 hours of the show. That was supposed to be the Vince McMahon funeral. And now we're talking 15 years ago or whatever, but Vince has said that night he was killing the character Mr. McMahon, that if he came out, a year later, 6 months later as Vince McMahon, it was as the owner, CEO, and not the character. But when the whole Benoit thing happened, they scrapped that. And then they, because they were losing sponsors left and right, they're like, the only way we can get back here is we have to really make this family television. And it's basically lasted now. We're going on 16 years.
Oh yeah, easy. And and they're doing better than what they have before. And I
Yeah.
think people give Vince McMahon a lot of flack, but they don't understand the stuff that he's done from then. And I can never hate the guy, like ever, because you got to think everybody gets mad about it's pro wrestling. Listen, it's all pro wrestling. And there's no difference in it. He wanted them to be known as more as wrestlers. As you got to think of it as the business side. Like these guys and gals, they want to do things. They want to create brands, and that's what they do. They entertain. They're sports entertainers. They want to. You just they're just wrestlers. No, they're more than that. And you got to look at it from WrestleMania 1. Look at that in Madison Square Garden to look at it now. Look at the stadiums and everything. Look how big he's gotten it to that point. And I think a lot of people, like we always say, give people their flaws before they're gone. As we always say, I think they need to do that with a man. Like, yeah, he's getting old and, he wants to do things his way. He needs to change it up a little bit, but you don't make $1 billion company by, listening to everybody and every little thing. You'll take here and there out of it, but to be a successful businessman, sometimes you got to take those chances and do things your way. And hey, I would say it worked.
My only critique, and you and I have talked about this. Like, I love the old stuff. I love you go from like 85 to like 98, and you had a couple slim years where they thought Diesel was marketable, and like you take Hulkamania and
the new generation.
The Savage years, the Warrior years, the Bret Hart years, the Michaels years, all the way into Austin, Rock, and DX. That's a great era. The only thing that I'm critical of nowadays is I don't like this brand extension where you've got, Raw is essentially a promotion. It's not just a show. It's like a brand. They have their own champions, like
the flagship,
World, Intercontinental, Tags, Divas. And then you have the exact same structure on SmackDown, and then you have the exact same structure in NXT. If you really want to make brand extension work, what you should do, in my opinion, is you have 3 completely different products. So, I mean, it could be anything. You could have like what Vince's vision is for WWE as your Raw product. SmackDown could be like an extreme, like kind of like an ECW feel, anything goes type of thing. And then you could do like Smack. I think, Friday nights, family nights. I don't know. Like that could be like your PG content, more like funny storyline. Like throw the 24/7 belt on SmackDown and around that type of presentation. Have your serious show on Monday and then your extreme show, but still just have one world champion. Have the champion, because like back in the territory days, like when Flair was the NWA champion, he was working St. Louis one night, Dallas the next, the Carolinas, Minnesota, and he was working his way around the country. If WWE was smart, they would have like Reigns or Lesnar, whoever they want to give the ball right now, and have him appear on all 3. So like you've got a guy from Raw getting a shot, a guy from SmackDown, make them like really different, because again, we've talked about this. If you watch Raw now and you watch a Raw from like the mid 90s, it's still the same feel.
Oh yeah.
It's the same camera angles. It's the same, the booth it's a 3-man booth, and you got the heel color commentator, and you've got the gray hat, and like it's just, they really need to change it up. Have one be old school, one be extreme, and really make it different, because I don't know, it just, and then they don't even honor the borders. It's like you have Rollins, he's a heel on Raw, he's a face on SmackDown. Like, why are you having Raw superstars wrestle for SmackDown championships? It's just kind of weird. That's, but the old stuff I live for.
Absolutely. I can watch it like every night before I go to sleep. I'll watch, No Mercy here, like the old No Mercy, or I'll watch the first Elimination Chamber, or I'll throw it all the way back and go to like WrestleMania 3 or something like that. All the In Your Houses. But yeah, I definitely, I'm with you in that boat. You give me the new stuff over the old stuff any day of the week. And I think we have a comment. Gotta get Danny Pearson said nothing was more fun to watch than the war between WCW and WWF. I do agree. Like the timing was great because basically it had WCW come on because this is when Raw came on at 9:00, so Nitro will come on at 8. So you're like, oh yeah, watch Nitro, yeah, Goldberg, yeah, okay, 9:00 up, switch it over to Raw, and then back and forth. It was fun, man. That's when. Sorry, I gotta say this one.
No,
This is when you actually can get through episodes of Raw. Because now it's hard for me to do it, but as soon as 9:00, Walker Texas Ranger came on, and then all of a sudden Raw came right on after that. I was 8:55 in there waiting for it to come on. Like, oh man! But I even remember the first episode of Raw, '93.
Yeah,
Razor Ramon and 1-2-3 Kid when he took the money, he took the bag of money and ran. Oh man, it was definitely fun moments.
Do you remember? I forget the date specifically. It was January of '99 when Tony Schiavone said, "You don't have any reason to go to Raw tonight." Mick Foley wins their belt, and then everyone changed the channel. And to this day, now again, I'm not a regular watcher of today's product. I'll watch Saturday because it's on in the morning, and I watch Mania and SummerSlam and here and there. But that moment when Mick Foley beat The Rock with DX was there, Austin. There's like 2 or 3 moments in the history of wrestling, like on Raw, that are so memorable, you get chills, and that was one of them.
Definitely, I have an autographed picture too of that night.
Of that night,
of that night, of Mankind right in the middle. But it was funny because how Schiavone did it, he was so arrogant about it. He's like, "What is this? What's going on with this? Mankind's going to win their title." Like,
well, and you probably know this too, because Michael Cole is pretty much fed his commentary from Vince. That Tony Schiavone line was fed by Bischoff. Like, bury it. Let's say it now. Like, you have to say it now. Schiavone has a lot of friends in the W. I mean, he worked there for a couple of years.
Yeah,
he was never into the bashing. Like, when I was a kid, this was, pre-Raw. This was like when everything was syndicated, and then you had Turner. The competition, it was just like the competition was not as swarmy, if that's a good word, because like the WWF was more like comic book colors and sound and like in your face, and WCW and NWA was like sport. It was like wrestling.
Yep.
Like you had guys like Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Bobby Eaton. Those guys could not get over in the 80s in the WWF because you had to be a comic book character. You had to be like
big guy.
Remember some of the guys they had, like Mantor and Bastion Booger.
Like
and
what the Repo, like Repo Man, or what? Who does that? I never understood that kind of stuff. Like, what were you thinking around that time, thinking that was going to get over? Maybe it did get over a little bit.
But the funny thing is, though, is like sometimes we forget, and I know, like, I don't want anyone to hate me for saying this. If you watch the ad, any TV show, you can base the type of television show it is based on the ads that you're selling. Wrestling, for the most part, is marketed as kids programming. So, like, when Repo Man came out, I was probably 20. But if I would have been like 8, I probably thought it was funny or cool. Like, oh, look, who he's going to steal. So what's he going to steal tonight? So we got to think of it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. that's what I said. I was about 8 about that time. So I thought it was cool. Like Don't the Clown going around shooting people in the face. Like, oh, this is funny. And Undertaker used to scare the shit out of me. You're just like, oh man, this is kind of wild. But now you look back on it going, what the hell was that thing? But it's something about the nostalgia and how they used to do things that I always find interesting because it's really transformed, and it's crazy. It just makes me feel old every time I think about it because you just remember when these things are happening. Life is so much easier and all that kind of stuff. But it's man. Now I'm feeling old. But also, speaking of the Four Horsemen, that's another autograph picture I have. I should have a show we can show all memorabilia and stuff. It's all autograph. I finally got Ric Flair. It's Ric Flair, Tully Brands, all the original ones like Tully, Arn, Oh, who else was that? I always forget the other guy's name. Come on.
Barry Windham.
Yes, Barry Windham. And what's the manager?
J.J. Dillon.
Yes, there you go. But yeah, what do I put? I have a bunch of stuff. My man cave is going to be like ridiculous when I actually get it done. But
Speaking
yeah.
of, I was going to say, speaking of that man cave, are you going to show us the belts?
Oh, I'm going to bring them up. I was going to do it. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm coming on screen. There you go. Yeah, I had to get them. That's your favorites. I had to get them. This was the fun one. The winged eagle. I always saw Brett with this one. You know, I had to have it. I'll put the intercut over there. My son thinks he's gonna have it, but nah, it's mine. This one, the winged eagle, is like my favorite one of all time. It just gives it like a classic look. Bring it over.
That is a sexy belt, ladies and gentlemen.
It is. It just something about it. Just nice and classic. Then the IC belt, my favorite one, just like you said. Just, man, can't go wrong with this. It's got the perfect weight.
I love that belt, like when Honky Tonk Man and Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart. Oh, I love that belt growing up. And again, we mention it every week. Right behind me, that's my fantasy football trophy right there. Greg, if you're watching, I want to taste your tears at some point because I beat Greg for this championship. All right, we're going to end the show tonight with a little rapid fire. I want to get Jacob's opinion on some hotly contested. We've had these water cooler conversations for years. We're going to get Jacob's opinion on some of the GOATs in a bunch of these sports. All right, so you're building a baseball team. Are you taking Mays or Ruth?
That's tough. I'm gonna go with Ruth. I'm gonna go Ruth.
And I've been arguing for Mays for 30 years on this, just because I think if he plays in the 20s, we're talking 1,000 homers and 1,000 steals.
That is very much true. I'm gonna go with Ruth. I'm gonna be nice this time.
All right. And for some of these two, if there's a C, if there's another option, you can let us know. But
absolutely.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan.
Easy, right?
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Here's my argument on that. I agree. Jordan's 6-0 in the finals. LeBron 4-7.
Yep, 4-7. Plus, Jordan had that it factor to him. LeBron, I always say this about LeBron. He's more of a Magic Johnson than anything. And the closest we'll see to Jordan, he passed away. That was Kobe. That was the closest I think we'll ever get to Jordan again. But Jordan's not my GOAT anyway. It's Kareem. But carry on.
Well, Kareem is your number one?
My number one.
All right, I can't argue with that. My favorite player of all time was Magic Johnson.
Can't go wrong with that.
Growing up like that, everything I loved about basketball, just the style, the winning. I just love Magic Johnson. All right, and then final question here is: give me your booking WrestleMania.
Ooh.
Now, but not WrestleMania 38. I'm talking any era, like a utopian wrestling universe. Give me your double main event. Give us we'll go singles matches here. What two singles matches that maybe we haven't seen that you would love to see at the grandest stage of them all?
Okay. HBK versus CM Punk. And I would have loved to see. This is a good one. Hold on. At their heights.
Yeah.
Undertaker versus Hogan.
Undertaker, Hogan. I mean, we're talking about the height of Hulkamania against like just the iconic. Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Oh man,
it's kind of weird to think we didn't get that. I mean, we got it in a Survivor Series.
Yeah, and he was young. He was a young Taker, so you're like, okay. But yeah, that would have been, say your prayers, eating your vitamins versus the dark side, and they come together, and you're just like, whoa, man, definitely gives me chills. What could have been? It's still, maybe we'll get some dream matches. You never know, but we'll see something now with Cody supposedly coming over to WWE. But I think that's going to shake the room a little bit.
Who was that?
Cody Rhodes. I guess he left AEW. So
is this like new?
Yeah, it just happened today. And
Really?
it's been everywhere today. I'm like, no, this
Are
is
you
fake.
kidding me? Like,
Gotta be
isn't he like part owner?
Yeah, he's the EVP. So you're
Holy
like, okay,
crap.
he had a lot to do with that. I'm like, that's big. And this is where you play chestnut checkers. Vince McMahon, he's not he's on there. He's like, okay.
That's interesting. Do you think we'll ever see MJF in the WWE?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's incredible.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite guy right there. Just everything about him. He's the perfect heel. He's marketable. Especially you put him at the height of a WWE and do it, because I look at AEW kind of like what LeBron said Miami was. It was kind of like college for him. I think AEW is more like college. WWE is kind of like the real world. Everybody wants to see Brian Daniels. He did what he kind of skipped college and he kind of went back. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's more once MJF he gets those 2 more years out of the way, they're backing up the truck for that kid because he is amazing. He can wrestle, but where he's going to make his money is his promos.
Yeah,
they're scathing. He makes you want to hate him. Plus, he's a New Yorker, and a lot of people hate New Yorkers. I get it, but
that's when wrestling's at its best, was when you can invest in a guy that you can either love or hate. And I think there's no one better right now, even better than Punk was in 2011, I think, just drawing heat. Because with Punk, when he was trying to be hated, we loved him.
They loved him.
With MJF, it's like they really hate this guy,
Oh my goodness. It's so awesome.
Well, I got to read up on this Rhodes thing.
Oh, you should, man. It's crazy. I'm like, oh my goodness. Maybe they didn't want to pay him. Him and Brandy they went. But I think if he does go back, I look at it like this. Dusty was a big thing in WWF. He was big, even before that, NWA, all that stuff. But how his legacy went in WWE, he's that kind of person like, listen, I got to go fix that. I owe it to my dad, owe it to my family to go back and pretty much change the narrative on what my story was here. I'm thinking I'm always like, as I've gotten older, I'm just kind of overthinking things, but I honestly want to see that, like, redeem himself, because I like Cody. I always like Cody. I like the whole legacy thing with him, Randy Orton, and Ted DiBiase, because obviously, third generation guys.
Sure.
But I want to see him come back and actually get a proper run. But who knows? Vince McMahon, he's kind of like he's an a-hole when it comes to that kind of thing. He's like, oh yeah, I got him now. I'm gonna pay him, make him run around in Stardust again. But we'll see.
Oh my God. Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh man.
Well, Jacob, thanks so much for having a catch with me tonight. I'm gonna have to make it out East Coast. We're gonna have to see a Mets game at some point, Citi Field together.
Absolutely.
And have a real catch at some point. Like, I know it's the name of the show, but like at some point I want to actually have like a real game of catch with you guys. So
absolutely, that'll be fun.
I'm
always down for that.
We're gonna at some point too. We're gonna be streaming more Mets games, and we'll have you on as a guest and get you to relive some of these older memories with us.
Okay.
Had a great time talking baseball and wrestling with you tonight.
Absolutely, Joey. Thank you. I really much appreciate it, man. It's been fun. I'm willing to do it again. Catch me at the right time.
All right, sounds good. Hey, everyone, stay tuned at 8 o'clock tonight. We got the Wheel Play episode 2 with Richie Lunt coming at you, AL Central. Everyone have a good night.
See ya.